Okay, so the book I have just finished is Cicero's Selected Works, and this is a great book. It truly is. And Cicero is someone that I really wasn't familiar with until I picked this book up, but I am so glad that I decided to learn about him because he he was a pretty cool guy. He really was. He did a lot of things, and he took a very unique path in life, and it's refreshing to see that someone really believed in what they said so much that they were willing to die over it. And that's exactly what happened. And Cicero is, if you don't know who he is, he was a Roman statesman. He was a politician. He was a lawyer, the best lawyer who ever lived. He was a master of oration or speaking, and he also vehemently opposed Mark Antony after the death of Caesar, which ultimately led to his death. But while he was alive, he was also a philosopher. He was a thinker. He was very active, and the term the Renaissance man, it actually is modeled after Cicero's life, and it's very, very interesting to learn that Cicero basically inspired the Renaissance. Most of the ideas during the Renaissance came from Cicero. Most of the inspiration came from him. The church even saw him as a good pagan, basically. That's what they like titled him as, something like that. But super interesting. And as well, his ideas on government, his ideas on the republic, his stances and his vehement opposition to the tyrannical governments that were coming in and oppose. He really wanted to strengthen the republic. Like, it inspired the American Revolution, inspired the French Revolution, and you see a lot of the ideals in the American Constitution. And it's so cool to read these books and understand that like the founding fathers were reading the same ideas and getting the same amount of inspiration from them. And this book is, it's broken up into a few different ways, and the first part of it is Cicero's letters, and these letters include letters to Caesar, letters from Caesar, letters to Pompey, letters to Scipio. Like, all of these great individuals, you're seeing them converse with him and respect him, and not just because of the political power he has, not because of any other thing aside from his mind. And it's so interesting to see that you can cultivate your mind to a point where some of the most powerful men who ever lived are respecting you based off of that mind. And it's like, it's something that, maybe we should start considering doing. Maybe we should start cultivating our minds instead of cultivating our bodies or cultivating our finances. Like, maybe the mind is something that transcends everything. And it's quite a beautiful thought. And then it goes on to Cicero's, basically, there's like a case where he destroys some Roman politician who was misusing funds, and then the guy basically like accepted whatever exile. He didn't even put up a case. It's really interesting. And then a big part of the book is his just angry letter to Mark Antony. And if you don't know who Mark Antony was like Caesar's right hand man. He was a general under him, and he basically took over the dictatorship after Caesar died. And in outwardly rejecting Mark Antony and outwardly saying he is a bad ruler, that he mismanaged funds, he didn't strike up any sort of resemblance to the great men who preceded him. Like, he was a bad ruler, he was all these things. Like, he basically signed his death warrant, and he really showed that like he was willing to speak out against tyranny if it meant his life. He was willing to try to bring back the Roman Republic at the cost of his life. And it's truly an inspirational thought, and it's truly something that we can pull a lot of wisdom from. We can pull a lot of advice from. And then the rest of the book really gets into his philosophy, and there's a few different things. One of the sections is, I think it's called On Duties, and what it basically is Cicero is writing a letter to his son, and the letter is basically giving him a life lessons. And one of them is that most great men, when they become great, when they have great ideas, they disappear from the public sphere. And you owe a duty to the people around you. You owe a duty to society if you have the capability of great things to give back. And that's something that you really see in the way Cicero lived and died, because let's face it, he could have joined Julius Caesar's monarchy. He could have been part of the empire. He had a position was offered to him, and he declined it because he did not want to partake in a tyrannical government. He didn't care that he was going to have political power beyond his wildest dreams. He cared more about the preservation of the Roman Republic. And it's truly a great feeling when you know that you believe in something that's worth dying for. And it's very interesting to see, and it really changed my perspective on service and giving back to the community. And the last part of the book is Cicero's philosophy on old age. It is very, very interesting, and it really goes into a lot of Stoic philosophy. I was literally reading Seneca like later on in the day after I finished this book, and it was really interesting to see that like they basically had the same thing. Like the approaching of death just makes life more meaningful. Like when you see death right around the corner, you're going to live out all of the rest of your days to the fullest extent, and it's going to be much more rewarding than, you know, when you were 20 and you didn't care and you didn't think that death was ever going to come, and there was no sense of urgency and there was no sense of meaning, because you're like, I have a billion days left before I'm going to die. Whereas, you know, you're 60, you're 70, you're 80, like you see it right around the corner. You see it's going to happen sooner or later, and now that you know it's coming, now that you can appreciate it more, and it's really interesting. And we think of like politicians today, and we think of them as like slimy bastards. Like, I'm sorry if you're a politician, but that's literally how I view every single politician. Anything they say, disregard, and probably what they really believe is the opposite. And it's like, it's really reassuring to see that there's not all about. Damn, I can't speak. Not all politicians in history are bad people. Like Cicero, while he didn't get everything done that he wanted to, he leaves a lasting legacy that there can be good in politics. There are just people, and we just need to ensure that these people are the ones that are representing us, and we need to fight tooth and nail to keep the republic that we have, because the greatest form of government is a republic. Like, we live in a republic. Don't let anybody tell you that it's a democracy. Don't let the news tell you this person is ruining democracy, this person is doing that. Like, the fact that the politicians allow these things to be said, and the fact that they get on a platform and say, this guy's ruining democracy, you should never vote for that person, because we live in a republic, and a republic is the safest and the most protective form of government, because we elect people to elect other people to represent the masses. It's not like democracy. Democracy's mob rule. Democracy's like, okay, if we had democracy in the 1960s, the Jim Crow laws would never have been changed, because mob rule at that time would have kept these bad policies in. But when we have checks and balances, when we have the republic, when we have the representative republic system that we live under, like, we need to ensure it. There was I think it was the mayor of Philadelphia's wife asked Benjamin Franklin after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, or the signing of the Constitution. I wish I remembered exactly, but she said, what kind of government do we have? And Benjamin Franklin said, we have a representative republic if we can keep it. And it seems like as each day passes on, that republic gets weaker and weaker, and it turns into something that we don't recognize. But it's never too late to really stand up and really stand up and say what we believe in and say what needs to happen. And it's interesting because we live in such a turbulent time, and it's never been a greater time to pick up some of the great works of Cicero and read them. So yeah, I'll leave a link to this book in the description. Great book if you like history, great book if you love Rome, and it really gives you a lot of insight on the founding of our country, the founding of its beliefs, and it has a ton of wisdom for life as well. And it's just great to see such a balanced perspective and such a balanced man, and it's really inspiring reading his books. And I have another book by Cicero. It's right here. Well, I can't find it, but here we go. Yeah. Brutus and Order. I will read this next, but this is the next thing I'm going to read, and it's really inspired me to do a deep dive on Roman philosophy, Greek philosophy, and I'm currently reading Seneca, so I will bring you a video that's very similar to this one. But yeah, thank you so much for making this far in this video. The link to this book will be in the description. If you want to get more from me, join my Discord, subscribe to my other channels, check out all my products. Thank you so much. Peace out.